What's up, guys? I'm Dwayne, and I am BlackBoardGaming, where I teach you about all these great board games that are out there, waiting to be played by you and yours.
I'm a simple man, don't wanna complicate ya.
So today I'm going to be doing another video in a series that I'm calling Mechanically Inclined, where I teach you about these different board game mechanics, these board game terms that are used in the hobby, and to help you become mechanically inclined to select and enjoy the next board game that you play with your family. So a really good friend of mine, he's been trying to get his family into board gaming, and he recently purchased a board game for his family for the holidays. And that board game is called New York Zoo by Uwe Rosenberg. I, of course, did a recent video review for that game, and they were watching the video, his family, of course, and the question arose, why does he keep calling them meeples? So, of course, in the game, the game has meeples, so I did refer to them as the little meeples. Now, first off, I want to give a shout out to the Bronson family for watching and supporting the channel. Hi, guys. Thanks for watching. So, but also, I want to thank them for giving me the idea to talk about the term meeple, what the definition of meeple is. Because unless you're in a board game hobby, this and other words are kind of new to you. So here we go. So the term meeple was first used in a game called Carcassonne. Carcassonne is a game that came out in the year 2000, where you're placing tiles on the table, and then you're taking these wooden workers these wooden pieces that resemble people and placing them on those tiles. Now, originally, those wooden pieces were referred to as followers in the rule book. But then a gamer named Allison Hansel, she was playing the game and she started calling them meeples, taking the word my and the word people and putting them together. So the word meeple was born. The makers of the Carcassonne, they really liked it, so they started using that word in their rule books from that point on. Now, there are meeples and there are miniatures. Miniatures are small replications of monsters or warriors or ships, stuff like that, and you usually see them in area control games or skirmish games, stuff like that. Whereas meeples, usually see them in worker placement game, where you're sending your worker out, you're doing the action. Now, my wife and I are both fans of worker placement games. And so when they put a meeple in the game, that really attracts us to the game. So I want to give examples of certain meeples in games. And there are a lot of them in the games that we love. Now, first thing, I'm not going to talk about Everdell or Escape Plan. Though both of those games have wonderful meeples in them. But I've given those games enough love, so I want to talk about some other games. But there is one game that I do have to talk about, and that game is Viticulture. So in Viticulture, you got your little worker meeple, you sending them out to the vineyard, and they do their action. In the first iteration of Viticulture, you only had the small meeple. But then they released the Tuscany expansion, and that had the grande meeple. Hold on, let me show you. I'll do my best to show this to you because I want to show it to you this way. So you got your little, wait a minute, your little worker meeple here. But then you got the grande meeple here. And so usually in a worker placement game, the regular meeple, you go to that spot, do the action, no one else can go there. But now the grande worker, he's like the boss meeple. So he comes up and he's like, hey, you're not the boss of me. I'm the boss of you. I can do what I want. So he can still go to that spot and do the action. Another thing that I appreciate about these particular meeples is they're out in the yard working. So I'm going to let that focus for a minute. He has a sun hat on. So he's out in the yard. He's trying to keep the sun off of him and everything. And they got these little baskets on their side. So they're collecting the grapes, harvesting the grapes and stuff like that. So I think adding that detail to that game, the game is already thematic enough. They got the little roosters and all that. But adding just these little details in the game just really shows the passion that the designers put in making their games. So the next game I want to talk about, or the next meeple. So this game does not get enough love, but it's such a great game. And that game is called Castell. And in Castell, you're Castellers, or a troupe of people who make human towers. You're performers, and you're going around the map putting on performances at fairs and carnivals and training or whatever, and you using your little wooden meeple to travel around the map. Now, they could have just made a regular meeple, okay? But they didn't. They made this. They gave you the human tower meeple. And that's just sweet. You know, and I like that they did that. You know, that's really cool. It's a great game. Yeah, if you haven't played it, I suggest trying it out. It is a brain burner, though. So the next game is a game that, you know, I want to get my wife to try out, and that game is Wreck Raiders. And so in Wreck Raiders, we're divers looking for treasure under the ocean. And we're diving down there, grabbing the treasure, bringing it up. We either putting it in a museum or selling it or something like that. And so, like I said, they could have just put regular meeples in there. They put the scuba diving meeple in there. You know, got his little helmet and the scuba diving uniform on. So I think that's real cool. Now, this reminds me of a board game I used to really be into called BioShock. So, you know, when I was in the board game, I still love that game. But now, the other thing I like being, if I'm introducing my wife to this game, she loves purple. So she's going right after these meeples right away. So the next game is a game called Santa Monica. And in Santa Monica, you are building up the Santa Monica Pier. You're building attractions, stores, stuff like that. And you're trying to attract tourists and VIPs. Now, I'm going to take the time to show this guy to you guys. So I'm going to let it focus. But like I said, they could have just did regular meeples. But they gave the tourists camera. And they gave the VIPs sunglasses. They walking around like they Secret Service. That's cool. You know, so that really adds to the components, the art, you know, all that. You know, it just immerses you into the game. So, the last one I want to talk about is a game I recently got. And the game is called Bonfire. And I'm just going to jump right to it. If you've watched The Mandalorian, then Baby Yodas. That's so cool. So they got Baby Yodas or Baby Grogu. So we'll go with Baby Grogu. And, you know, these represent the gnomes that are in the game. It's a fantasy themed game. But every time people see it, they're like, Baby Yodas, you know. So, yeah, those are my examples of meeples in different board games. And like I said, they could have just put regular meeples in there. They took the extra passion, extra detail to immerse the people to make their game stand out. And I love that. You know, they're meeples, they're animeeples. I showed you Honey Buzz recently, and they got their little beepos. And I mean, I just love meeples in a board game. So now they have wooden resources like corn or potatoes or whatever. And I hear some people refer to them as meeples. I'm like, no, those aren't meeples. You know, I I look at it this way. Pinocchio. Pinocchio's a wooden boy, wants to be a real boy. He all of a sudden becomes a real boy. Now he's running around playing football. You got your grande worker in viticulture. He all of a sudden becomes a real worker. He's probably not going to be doing what you want him to do, but he's running around the board. You know, and meeples skittering around the board. They become real all of a sudden. Corn, take wooden corn, it becomes real corn. It's going to sit there and be corn. So, you know, that's just me ranting and raving. Don't mind me. So, like I said, that is the definition of meeple. So, if you like the content of this video, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And like I said, I'm making an effort to make sure you're mechanically inclined to learn these board games, to enjoy these board games. And I'm Dwayne. This has been Blackboard Gaming, and I will see you next time.